it was always told to me that being an artist, it's so like impossible and tough, which of course it is. But then I kind of tried avoiding it, but then like you can't avoid it forever if you're drawn to it. So today's visit is in the studio of Inka Bell. Thank you for agreeing to this. Thank you for coming. And I have to say before everything, like I'm sure somebody already recommended your name in my list of recommendations. So it feels very nice to have you. And what do you do as an artist? Those who don't know. I always say that I work in the expanded field of printmaking. I use screen print and I do paper sculptures and also public art. And so somewhere around there, it's kind of like a mixed things of what I do, but it's kind of, usually it has something to do that I like to play with the relationship between something being 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional. So it kind of goes around that. And I also, there's kind of 2 ways that I like to do when I do my work. One is having some kind of visual phenomenons, like in the work, or how does it look, or my own observations. And then the other thing that fascinates me is kind of the endless way you can construct an image surface. So there's kind of endless ways you can put that image together. So those are kind of the 2 more visual.
What do you mean by visual phenomena?
Well, like how things look together. Like, can you see through some material, or like does it make like a moire effect, or something like small observations that you can also see somewhere around you, but also like how I also use quite a lot, like that you can see inside the work in a way if I do the paper sculptures. So it's kind of my own small observations.
We will talk definitely about your work. Yes, I find it very interesting that you're using paper, which is, a flat surface.
Yes.
Always, and using it in this 3-dimensional way. And before that, we are here in this nice studio of yours, very brightly lit with these pretty big windows.
Yes, 3 big windows.
Yeah. Tell us a bit more about the studio first. How long have you been here?
I think it's around 5 years that I've been here. And it's in this Vallila Taiteilijatalo, run by the Atelier-säätiö, Atelier Foundation. So there's a lot of artist studios in the building. And
there is one visit episode in the building.
Yeah.
On the other side, but anyway.
Yeah, you can see like it's nice. And before that, I was had my studio at the Kalansataman Seripaja, the open access screen printing studio. Was back then part of that, and I had a small room there, and then I moved here because I needed more space.
How big is this space?
This is 27 square meters. And it's the shape is a bit challenging, although these 3 big windows are they're very nice to have, but it's not the best for certain type of work, or if you need a lot of wall space, there's not really that. But of course, I do enjoy the big windows.
Yeah, something has to give, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also very high, so there would be some possibility to do something for the studio, but it is too small for me, so I need to find a new one at some point.
What's the favorite part of the studio for you?
Yeah, I guess it's the location, that it's very close to my home. So that's good. And I do like the big windows. And I can still somehow function. It's kind of like playing a Tetris, how everything is here. And especially if I'm working with like a exhibition, it's of course towards the end of the exhibition, it's also like very full of stuff. So it's kind of like a maze how I can walk around here.
And you don't share it with anybody, it's just you're here?
No, I want to have my own studio.
Have you ever shared?
I have shared, but to me, having alone time and being alone is very important. So then it's something that I would not be willing to give up. Also, the tools that I use are quite loud, so it would be too much for other people to have to listen to that. So it's a nice thing that I can
close the door and be on my own.
Do you store your art here also, or do you have a separate storage?
I store it here. I have few at the basement of my home. The storage would help as well, but there hasn't been any available, of course, because it needs to be also like a warm storage space near here.
And dry probably as well.
Yeah. So it's a bit problematic. It starts to be like chaos. And now there's some works coming back from one exhibition, and I'm kind of not wanting to have them back because they're gonna take a lot of space here. So yeah.
Yeah. I guess then every time you have to think about the future works, how you're gonna.
Yeah, and it's kind of limiting as well because I can't, like, there's literally no space to store like a large sculpture here. So then yeah, I do need to keep it in mind how to kind of have it so that it can be put in the smaller shape or something.
Yeah, it's tricky because when you start using paper, you think, oh, well, this is not, taking that much space, paper generally. But then when you make it into a sculpture,
Yeah,
it's a bit different.
yeah, it's a different, like storing like two-dimensional like printed works. There's plenty in the drawers here, but then like having more sculptural, it needs kind of space.
Let's go back in time when before you were Inka Bell, the artist.
Yes.
You were just Inka Bell, the kid. Did you know back then that you would be an artist? Did you?
I think I was always like intrigued by doing like something creative. I maybe didn't know really what to do, and I first studied fashion design, and I have a degree in fashion design and graphic design. And as a graphic designer, I did work for I had like a proper profession on that before then switching slowly into fine art and leaving the design behind. So there had been like these interests, but somehow it was always told to me that being an artist, it's so like impossible and tough, which of course it is. But then I kind of tried avoiding it, but then like you can't avoid it forever if you really if you're drawn to it. So I did my best to avoid it, but then
it hits you.
then it hit me. Yeah. But yeah, it's been like I've been as a kid always to like some art courses and had my own exhibitions at the living room floor or whatnot. So I've been like very interested, but like only towards like being an adult, it kind of really started to.
What kind of art did you do when you were a kid?
I guess kind of these basic drawings that you do, and yeah.
You didn't think about sculpture back then.
No, only like when I was older, I started experimenting with like some material, but like more like whatever you would do. That of course I didn't even know that there is possibilities like in working certain ways. But I was exposed through these art courses to different techniques and so.
And it's interesting you said you studied fashion design. I think you're the first one who studied fashion design.
Yeah.
That I have talked with.
But I never did. I started in 2000, straight from high school.
So it was a bachelor degree.
It was a bachelor degree, yeah. And then during the studies, I also applied to graphic design and then started that at the same time, but did graduate. But I never worked as in that industry. I did work in one company in Copenhagen. I was living there for a year back in 2004, but I was actually doing more graphic design than fashion design there. But yeah, it is. Yeah, never really worked in that field, or it was just like I don't know how I kind of ended up there.
Well, after high school, you are not always super focused exactly and know what we're gonna do.
Yeah, and I think someone told me at the I was at the Torkkeli, like an art high school, and someone told me that because I was interested in like graphic design as well back then, but someone told me that it's so difficult to get into the graphic design as it is. I don't know, it's probably more difficult to get into the fashion design nowadays, but So it was like a weird, okay, someone telling me that, you know, this it's too difficult, no one gets in, and then just ending up somewhere kind of what feels interesting. But during the fashion design studies, I noticed that I was more interested in like making like prints on clothing, or making the images of the clothing, not the clothing itself. So it kind of quite naturally then went there towards the graphic design, and then did the BA from that as well. And during those studies, I was always like dreaming that it would be so nice to go and study printmaking at the Fine Arts Academy, but then someone said that it's impossible to get in. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, no, and then kind of.
But then afterwards,
Then this is like many years later. Then because I was doing like screen printing, because when you study graphic design, you have access to the printmaking studios at the school, or at least back then had, and there was like different printing.
were you studying graphic design?
Taik, so no, not Aalto nowadays, but this was also like early 2000.
It wasn't Aalto yet.
No, so like over 20 years ago, I started that graphic design as well, and did prints, and I was also doing like illustration and printing those, and so it kind of naturally this like printmaking was calling me, and then yeah.
Now you do this very, very abstract.
Yes.
pieces.
Yeah, back then I was working working with collages, so I was also combining like small parts together. So there's maybe like a small resemblance of that. There's one of these illustration artworks there that you can see from the style. But I was working commercially as well, and I was doing graphic design at the same time. But then I noticed that it's like this like artistic part is calling me more, that I cannot like I cannot put the artistic need that I have into the design work. And then slowly during maternity leave, I decided to kind of switch completely into fine art many years later. Now this was like already 10 years ago, but there's a lot of things that happened during those years.
Even though people said it was very hard and impossible.
Yeah.
Don't listen to people.
No, but it also like what happened, that I heard that this people were setting up this Kalasatama screen printing studio. This was maybe 2014, and I was very interested in screen prints and doing like residencies where I could print, or going somewhere else to print, or ordering prints. So I was kind of longing for that type of space, and then I asked if I could join, and then of course then having access to this like printmaking studio, screen printing studio, it kind of opened new doors for me, and then kind of the path towards doing and focusing on fine art kind of came naturally, and then it led from there.
Also, the art academy physically is quite not too far from.
No, but I
medicine.
only went to the Fine Art Academy in 2019 doing the MA studies.
Was it already in the new building?
No, it was in the old building. It moved kind of in between the studies, but then there was COVID and there was no access to the school, so I never studied in the new building. But I did get my graduation paper at the new building. So it was nice, yeah. But it was like a really nice experience doing this like studies, because I was basically 18 when I went to do the first degrees, and then like 20 years later doing the MA studies. So it was quite different experience.
I mean, there is no blueprint of when exactly you should be doing what.
No,
So-
and of course, like when I was younger, I was maybe focusing on different things, and the school itself, like what to do, and other things than studying as well. I had, of course, more time, but now having a family, and then also working and having exhibitions, so then I didn't have that much time to kind of maybe do the other things that I did 20 years earlier. But then I think it was still a good time for me to go and do the studies, and I did get a lot out from it, despite the fact that the second year was kind of COVID restrictions and nothing really happened.
And is it in Kuva that you have to do it in 2 years, the master's degree, or?
That's the aim of doing in 2 years, but I guess most people do in a bit more than 2 years.
Because I studied in Aalto and it took me 4 years to graduate.
Yeah.
That was considered very normal.
Yeah, I think it took me maybe 3 or something, so I returned the thesis, but all the course were done, but it was more like focusing on the thesis. I don't remember anymore. It's so long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think also the COVID kind of mixed everything up, and there wasn't some
Time started passing differently.
Yeah, so I don't know like anything about those times, like years, they all like blend into one.
They do for sure. Were you already in Kuva experimenting with paper in a sculptural way?
Yes, I was. I was started doing the first ones in 2015-16, and the whole idea for these paper sculptures came from like magazines that you have this like cut edges, and you might see the kind of the printed image kind of being cut, and it creates like a layer of ink, and there's like sometimes really nice patterns or images forming to the sides of the magazine. So that was kind of the starting point. And then I first started experimenting with printing, and then cutting the material open. So the image came from these like printed paper elements, but then later it kind of went more towards form and the like 3-dimensionality, and it has quite organically then developed into a certain direction.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw your work was when you had this exhibition in Forum Box a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, your works are so simple and then so effective in the same time.
I guess it's also because this like everyone is familiar with paper in one way or another. Of course, the paper that I use is like a art paper, so it's not the kind of the basic copy paper. It could be, but that would cause, of course, some some issues. But everyone kind of understands what paper is. Although then I must say that then quite often it might be that people might not recognize the material right away, or depending, of course, how the finishing is and so. But it's yeah, or then that the paper would be folded or something, but it's always cut. But I guess that's also like the it's so mundane that you kind of, it's in a way easy to use.
What do you do now?
Now I have an exhibition at the Turku Art Museum studio space end of November. So now I'm making works towards that exhibition. I'm also trying to use some older works, because I kind of feel like I always want to make new works, but then it might bring nice layers to the space to have some older works, especially because like not everyone has seen them, of course, so it might be like a nice contrast. And also like it does cost quite a lot to make the artworks, so then like using some works that I still have and kind of, and of course now it has gotten easier when I feel like the visual language that I do is the same despite the exhibition, so it's kind of nice to bring maybe older works as well. But the space itself, it's quite high and it has a lot of doors and windows, so there's not that many like walls that wouldn't have something kind of breaking the space. I quite often, when I start working with an exhibition, I visit the space and think about the space quite a lot, because it affects the dimensions and sizes. Definitely. And how the walls are. So then, yeah. So that's kind of on the table now.
Do you have
themes in your work? Because it's very abstract, but
Yeah, well, I've noticed that in the maybe past maybe 5 years or 6 years or so, there's some kind of theme of movement or transition, or the movement can be in the actual work, or then how the viewer needs to go around it, or the technique, of course, and a lot of repetitions. So some kind of movement is it can be a color or a shape or a combination of that, or something. That's something that I'm interested in, and kind of just playing with the material and the tools that I have.
yeah, it's speaking about the tools. Your works are created of these little pieces, and you're using laser cutter to cut them, right?
Yeah.
And it's super interesting to me personally, because I very much like digital fabrication and all kinds of these.
Yeah, and I think to me it's always like the balance between the digital and handmade. So like, when does it go over the border of being like too industrial or produced or something? That's something that I balance with. But like, there's so much. I do so many decisions with my like hands, and of course it's me who programs everything that I'm cutting. But it's like, I've always enjoyed like combining different ways of creating the image with maybe older printing methods like screen printing. Of course, screen printing is not old if you think of the history of printmaking, but anyway, like still like these more
the field
traditional
of contemporary art.
Yeah,
It's kind of classical medium already.
yeah. So like combining and finding new ways to utilize the tools you have, and so there's like with the general like gram of paper that I use, there's 30 elements per centimeter. So then in these bigger works that are several meter, it can be like, I think the biggest one has been 20,000 elements that I made, and I need to cut them one by one. So it's a lot of this like repetition and combining pieces. So in a way, it does remind me of like making a collage work. But yeah, and also the like changes that happen in the work, they're quite minimal in a way. So there's like quite subtle transformations quite often. Sometimes they're more visible, but sometimes you kind of really need to look for them and just playing around with them.
Yeah, and your works are very precise.
Yeah. Yeah, people when they come to my studio, they're like shocked how it looks, because it's like a chaotic mess. And
I guess it needs to balance somehow.
yeah, I guess that's like how it looks inside my head, how my studio looks, and then trying to kind of strip it down to bare minimum in the works, and having them like quite controlled.
Yeah, and then you have sometimes these metal elements that are kind of putting the work together, like constraining it.
Yeah, before I was gluing the paper together, and then like having wooden frame or structure around it. But then, like when you glue the paper together, it kind of feels like to me that it can't breathe in a way, because paper, of course, breathes and reacts to moisture and stuff. So then I've started using these metal structures and also this like metal frame, and at least to me, the combination works quite nicely, having this stainless steel, usually like polished, and it has this kind of same thinness and sharpness as the paper elements themselves.
Yeah.
And the paper does weigh quite a lot when you have a lot of that. So then like stainless steel, for example, is like because it's durable and it can handle the weight quite nicely.
But you don't make the frames and parts, metal parts by yourself.
No. No, I wouldn't know how to do it, and I want them to look very professional and finished. So yeah.
Yeah, working with metal is pretty hard.
Yeah, and you would need to have like all the tools and of course, it would probably save me money, or I don't know if it would in the end, because I would probably then need to end up ordering them from someone in the end.
How does your process usually go when you do the work? Is there like a pattern?
Well, yeah, certain, and I think quite often it goes so that I have like a certain idea in my head, and it can be like a image or like a shape that I start building towards to, and then I start making small samples of like cutting the material, and then kind of seeing how the first shapes look, and then altering the shapes with that, and then starting to kind of build around it. But quite often it might be that something that I thought that would be like working in a very small size ends up being like a very large one, or then it ends up being something completely different that I didn't even like think it could be in the beginning, which I guess it's the nice part, kind of surprising yourself and finding new things. Quite rarely the idea that I have looks the same as the kind of finalized work, and quite often I've noticed that I have like a very strong, like for some exhibition, like strong, okay, there's gonna be this work and it's gonna be like based around that, and in the end there's nothing like left of that work. But I guess that's always the process of like then finding some new things and accidentally doing something, and then that bringing something new into the kind of the whole thing.
I think, and I hope, that galleries, museums, curators there, they understand that this is just inevitable. Sometimes you propose one thing and then it turns into a little bit something else.
Yeah, and I guess in a way the longer you do develop a certain visual style, so then you can kind of trust that it is somewhere around that line that the final artwork will be. At least to me, it kind of feels quite often like that it's still me, although it would be like something. But yeah, I haven't had any problems with that. At least no one has said anything. So, but it's also because I can't do like a sketch, like a drawn sketch. I could do a sketch of a shape, but I can't do like a drawn sketch of anything. I can only try to explain and refer to my older works.
You don't do 3D models?
No. So then it's kind of happening slowly. But I kind of also, because I think before I was trying to explain what I will do in the future projects, but now I have not always, but quite often done so that I will just continue with the same visual language and the techniques and the ideas that I have, which is true, because then
then it gets easier to explain exactly what it will be.
Yeah, because like I wouldn't know, you know.
You said you're using art paper for the works.
Yeah.
Is there like a specific type of paper that you're taking, or
yeah, I'm kind
is it
of
one type, or do you use different ones?
I do
as well?
sometimes use different ones, but I because I need to have quite a lot of paper in stock. So this is like a quite pressed and smooth paper that I used to use for screen printing, that I then kind of just started exploring with making like the sculptures. So then it is a certain type, but sometimes I try to experiment different like weights or different type of papers, and yeah.
Because then you mentioned also that you are trying to somehow incorporate older works into new works or something like that. I'm thinking if I understand correctly, that in this way of working, like it would be easy to be able to somehow reuse the material that you have used before.
Yeah, well, I was maybe more like combining old artworks with new artworks in like an exhibition context. So like
not actually reusing.
No, I have sometimes tried that as well, or like using printed paper that would go to waste as like a material for my sculpture. I have done a few of those type of works, but then not that often.
Of course, you want to be able to predict the results, or that's why you focus on a specific type of paper, probably.
Yeah, or I don't know, predict maybe, because it's kind of, I like the surprises aspect, but more like how the paper behaves in a certain way, and if so that's more like the practical side of kind of how the artwork will live after that.
Do you have some sort of routines in when you come to work in the studio? Like this is again like I feel the same question about the process, but maybe just generally about how you work.
I kind of work within office hours because I have a daughter, so then the kind of school times do affect my day. So I try to come here quite early, and then the first thing I do is I start making tea and sit down and think what I will start doing. And depending on the day, it can be, because like depending on what type of work I do, it might be that I work with a certain work for a month, and it might be just like very monotonic, cutting the element like day after day, the same shape, and kind of dealing with that. But then it can also be this like making smaller tests or preparing files or something like that. So then it does differ quite a lot. And now, for example, I noticed, because I was working with two larger pieces at the same time, so then I started feeling like I need to do something quicker, that it's kind of like frustrating when these two larger pieces are stuck, and then it's like an endless time-consuming loop on how to continue. So okay, like now I need to do something smaller, and that's a bit more fast-paced than like doing like months and months of the same repetition.
Yeah, I have noticed for myself at least that not seeing the progress of the work is very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I get almost like depressed when you feel like nothing is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, something is happening, but you just don't see it.
Yeah.
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 So I totally understand that point.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to kind of mix that up a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it usually that you work on one piece and then another? Or is it like several separate ones?
Well, it's kind of, might have the main focus on one, but then, yeah, if I'm doing these bigger ones, I need to have some balance, because it might be like just too much to kind of do that for several months. But yeah, it's I also have so little space that I cannot put all the works kind of, I can't spread them around, so I need to kind of see what I have kind of space for. So maybe one bigger work at a time, and then some smaller ones.
Have you ever thought about, because when I have done some work with digital fabrication, sometimes I felt like I'm becoming part of the machine that is doing the work, because you just have to constantly interact with the machine and feed it the files.
And also kind of like figuring out the small things that kind of makes the machine behave differently, and these and kind of come up with new ways to make it like easier or better or faster or some kind of good way. And it is the way I work now, it is quite different from when I started using laser 2019. So I have come a long way, also kind of trial and error, and
it's like a dialogue a bit with the machine of how things are
and
going to go.
I call it as well like that it is a dialogue between the kind of machine and it is me who kind of tells the machine what to do and all the settings, and so it is kind of learning to communicate and talk the language and getting what I want out of it, and sometimes there's days that I feel like the machine really doesn't want to perform, and then I just kind of need to maybe have a break.
So how do you sustain your practice?
I guess it's the usual many different ways. Grants, hopefully. I've been lucky enough to get them, but also then not getting them, and then been working with public artworks, and those, of course, help, and selling works. And I used to do a lot of teaching, but currently I'm not like doing it. And so just like many different things. And I think the dream situation for me would be to kind of have a longer funding or grant. Of course, any grant is like so much appreciated, but to be able to do like long-term plans is something that I find a bit problematic when you don't know how much time you have to kind of, yeah. So it's kind of many different things combined, as I believe it's for everyone.
It is, yeah. And I guess it's even more challenging when you have a family.
Yeah. And then kind of the time you have to, like the time you have for making the art is kind of also restricted, that if you would work in a full-time job, there's kind of no way to do the art. So if you have, for example, exhibitions agreed,
it's harder to balance.
Yeah, it's hard to balance. I have been able to kind of navigate the situation so far somehow, but of course it would be always easier if there would be like someone saying that you will make it, you can survive. Yeah.
I'm thinking which direction to go to ask you something, because there's two things I want to ask you that are very separate. But let's start with you just mentioned you are doing also public art. Like how does an artist go into public art?
Well, for example, Helsinki Art Museum HAM has like on their website you can send your portfolio that you're interested in doing, and they had, I think they posted at some point that they're doing this, and I sent my portfolio. I did have the exhibition at the Helsinki Art Museum gallery space around the same time or before as well, and so those have come through that. And the first one I did was at this Vermonniitty art wall, and that came via the kind of building company, and they had like a person who was in charge of like curating the artist. So I guess it's kind of a bit of luck and your own activity, and of course if you make some, then people see you do them, and
I mean, I understand when you already start doing something.
Yeah.
People have more trust that you can do it because you already have an example of, okay, I've done this. But before you have done anything, like how does that? Because public art is a bit more specific, I guess, or at least in my mind.
It is, and I guess having like the background of being a graphic designer and having my own company with my friends back in the day, and like running projects and managing stuff, it's like a big help, because that was basically what I did every day, like and I feel like also my style it's kind of scalable, and I like playing with different materials. And I think with public art it's kind of nice because then you have like an opportunity to really work with the scale and the surroundings and the materials. Of course there's restrictions as well, but like really like these works I wouldn't be able to do them to my exhibitions, because it usually takes like the budgets are a bit different.
Yeah, and I guess also how you structure proposals is different, because it has to be a lot more detailed, and you have to consider other things that you wouldn't need to think about in an exhibition.
Yeah, and I guess it's always like the safety is a big part as well, and then like everything goes through this like some compromises, but I really enjoyed them like a lot doing them and working with the architects and
But they are not paperworks there. You use different
no,
materials.
I use different materials. Yeah, I guess they need to be able to. Of course, I could frame something and then have it on the wall, but because I am interested in the space and kind of how to incorporate the work into space, so I have used like metal and ceramic. Yeah, so something that you can, like one of the work is so that you can touch and turn these elements around. So if it would be paper, it would be like and it's
Gone.
like the cafeteria of the school, so it would be like full of, I don't know, butter and other stains. So
Somebody might do that conceptually, you know.
yeah, it might be
Further development of the piece.
yeah. But yeah, I really enjoy doing them. Of course, they have their own challenges, but yeah.
And then some completely different, yes, the other direction. That you said it's good to have somebody to tell you that things gonna be okay and things are gonna be fine. You can do this, and somehow I imagine. I mean, that's usually friends and family, right?
Yeah.
And maybe also some community if you have around of other artists. Do you have such a community here?
No, not. And I think in this building, the only place where you meet people is the toilet. So there's like no like joint kitchen or anything. You would have these conversations. So maybe you see them at the corridor. So that's nice. But at the studio building here, there's really not. And of course, I have like friends that are in the same field and I guess that's a community. And I guess with printmaking, there's always some kind of community due to the nature of how print studios are. Although, like you're not actively using it, but still, yeah. And I think it's important to talk with other artists because they usually share the same
struggles.
Yeah, and kind of give perspective and kind of yeah.
Yeah, it's a pity that this is a building that was supposed to be only for artists and probably with the thought that they are going to meet. But yeah, this lack of common space, it's something that...
Yeah, because then you would sit naturally, like have lunch and kind of talk to people and get to know them. Because of course,
when you go to the toilet, you don't really want to talk with people.
No, and of course everyone has their doors closed, so it's not like a type of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, then it's an extra effort to maintain those connections with others if they're not just next door.
Yeah, and sometimes it's been nice when there's been like friends who had their studio here as well, so then you can kind of see a bit more regularly. But
I asked lately people about the role of the online presence.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Do you have a strong one? I mean, of course you have an online presence. Nowadays, I just don't think one can exist in the art and not have that. But how is that for you?
I guess it's kind of like mandatory thing to have. At least I feel for me. I'm more active myself when there's like an exhibition coming, so I can post about works and so. But there might be like a half a year or a year that I'm not really posting anything on my feed. I might have something on my stories, but I'm not like there's no strategy behind my online presence. It kind of is what it is. Yeah, but I do try to have like that there is. It's kind of like portfolio, and quite often I go and if I need the information of certain work or something, I might go to my own Instagram and see from the work what it was. So it kind of works as a library as well for me.
Yeah, and you also have a website.
I have a website, yeah. It's I'm doing a new one at the moment. Or my husband is doing because the old one stopped updating. But yeah.
It stopped updating.
Yeah, it doesn't push the code forward, so now there's a new one coming.
I have noticed that there are artists who don't have websites and they only have like Instagram, for example.
And I was thinking as well, like, do I really need a website? But then I feel like to Instagram you can kind of many things drown in the feed. There's so much information. So then on my website I can have like more information and more like curated works and some text or something more easy. So to me, it works. Or I think I came to the conclusion that I do need one.
Yeah, no, I absolutely am on that opinion as well. Because on the website you can also post, organize, and like make your projects differently. You have more freedom, way more freedom.
And you're not like dependent on the timeline of Instagram. And of course, I guess quite many times people go first to Instagram, and then if they want to kind of see or read or know more, then they go to the website. So,
do you often visit exhibitions?
Yeah, I do. I try to go every week.
Every week, wow.
Yeah,
that is really often.
Yeah, well, it's. I might do just like a one exhibition per week or two, or depending how my schedule is, and if I'm in the city or somewhere where the exhibition is. It's of course not necessarily the city center, but I do try to go quite a lot.
Where would you usually go? Or I mean, if you go every week, you probably go absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, depending on like. Where people are showing, but I guess the usual Anhavan, Helsinki Contemporary, and those bigger galleries, but also like the Union galleries, the printmakers, and
you're part of the printmakers union.
Yeah, and also.
Are you part of the sculptors union?
No,
because you do sort of sculptural work as well.
Yeah, I do, but then I don't know. Is it?
Well.
Is it near? Like I wouldn't say no, but like it's. Yeah.
Yeah. Now they have these talks for like merging those unions into one, and it's all in Finnish, so it's a little bit harder for me to follow those.
Yeah, I did start reading into it, but then I didn't really form like my. I don't maybe know that well the benefits or.
Yeah, in Bulgaria there is like one union that is kind of the legal entity for everybody, but then it's divided into sections depending on the medium.
Yeah, and I guess it is so that then like specific, and I always feel like with printmaking that it's kind of, well, I guess with any medium, but if you think of painting, because it's kind of so known and so that there's like representatives to each.
And it's always a bit more confusing if a person is using more than one medium or using the medium in a different way that it should be used, I guess. What are some places of inspiration for you? Do you have some?
Well, architecture in general is kind of something like the spatial experience, and I guess quite often because you feel quite small depending on it can be a small building as well, so then you might feel quite big, but the kind of playing with the scale of kind of the human size and bigger. So I always really enjoy architecture and spaces and the kind of dynamics each space has.
Some specific type of architecture, or?
Well, I guess I have a tendency towards some 60s, 70s type of architecture, but then in a way. Yeah, so that's something that always kind of inspires me, and I guess it's kind of this basic shapes that architecture quite often plays with, or I don't know, basic shapes, geometric and playing with those. So
what's the most interesting architecture in Helsinki for you?
I don't know. Nothing comes to my mind now. I'm sure there is, but nothing really comes to my mind now.
Yeah, I mean, if you, I guess it's a type of question like, what's your favorite movie?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Don't ask me that.
Okay, but I do ask everybody about the different artists that you like and follow their work. So I will have to press that one.
Yeah, and I feel it's like a very tricky question, because I feel there is this thing that I guess like every artist that I follow on Instagram inspires me in one way, like that they can be really good at their craft, or like I like the visual language, or So that's why also I really enjoy like going to see exhibitions by different people, because I feel like there's so many talented people, and also like I really enjoy when people start finding their own kind of way to express themselves. But then I guess these big names always come with these big exhibitions because they have like more budgets to kind of do like bigger entities. So then like
But by no means it has to be like a big name. It can be
no,
a
but
small
you know,
name.
it would be like 1,000 name list. Like you can go to my Instagram and see who I follow, and I could put all those names. So there's not like I'm not in a way worshipping anyone or no artist. But then like James Turrell, I think it's always really nice, or Ellsworth Kelly, or Donald Judd, or Richard Serra, and these type of usual names. So it's
So for an extended list, go visit Inka's
Yes.
Instagram page.
yes,
And
and get
for
to
the-
know the artist from there.
And for the short list, visit the Visit website, where I have all the recommendation names in a page
Yeah,
by everybody who's been here on the podcast.
yeah.
So, yes. Well, I think that's kind of all my questions. Is there something you want to say that I didn't ask you about?
No, nothing specific comes to my mind.
You're like, no, don't ask me anything else.
Nothing more. No,
No, but thank you very much, and
thank you.
good luck with the exhibition in Turku.
Thank you.
When does it open if somebody wants to go and see it?
I think it's 28th of November, so end of November. I think it was 28th. So, and it's there like over the holidays and everything, so until January. So I hope
Plenty of time.
people, at least if they visit Turku during Christmas or something, they would go and see it. Yeah, it's a beautiful museum.
Who wouldn't visit Turku? Turku is a beautiful city.
Yeah,